This video will cover 9 Tudor Submariners issued to the French Navy. We'll start with this one. This is an MN-74. MN stands for Marine Nationale 1974, with 74 being the year of issue. This is a snowflake model with snowflake hands and the square hour markers. The bezel is taking on a little bit of a blue patina, but it's a black bezel. This dial was probably not the original dial. It was probably replaced during service with the French Navy. A lot of these early models were, the black dials were subject to dial rot. So it's pretty common to see them replaced, the dial and likely the hands. This particular one, we don't know which unit it was issued to, but this is covered in my book, Marine Nationale by WATCHISTRY. So on the inside of this case back, we can see watchmaker inscriptions, in this case GE. GE stands for Geneva, or which is where Rolex has its service center. And so this watch was sent to Rolex Geneva at least twice. I've got this on an NDC strap. This is made from parachute webbing material, and it was a common style that the sailors would use to make it easy to get the watch on and off. This next one here is what's called a sterile example. So this is, again, a Tudor Submariner, probably around 1974 or 75. Got this on a double RL NATO strap. You can see on this case back, it's a sterile case back, meaning that everything's been polished away. You notice even the Rolex Geneva case on the outside is totally gone. It's not clear why it was polished away, but it was there was probably an MN engraving here that's since gone. But how do I know this is an MN watch? Well, just first by observing it, it's definitely got a patina. This is probably an original dial to the watch. You can see it's starting to take on a little bit of crusty appearance. This one's got a great dome on it, kind of what you might call a super dome. It's really great. The crown is very, very worn. It's starting to come off there. And it's got a great blue bezel insert. It's unclear if that's original to the watch or not. But how do we know this is a French Navy issued watch if there's no engraving on the back? Well, on the inside of that case back, there are engravings from one of the French Navy's watchmakers, Yves Pastre. You can see on the inside here, this is says 481. So that means in April 1981, Mr. Pastre serviced this watch. And from my podcast, or if you have the book, you can listen to the story of the watchmaker from Toulon that explains the history of the register and how we can use that to figure out if a watch was issued. So in this example here, in the register, this serial number indicates that it was used by the diving school. And it's basically a register that explains all the services done to a given watch. Let's see if I can get that a little closer here. You can see here, it indicates in 81, Tudor, the serial number of this watch, and then the dive school. All right, moving on. This is a blue snowflake. It's from 1975. This one's got a lot of patina, probably original dial, at least original hour hand. The minute hand was probably changed. At first, that bothered me a little bit, but now I absolutely love it. It's just part of the history of this watch. When I received it, it had a fresh bezel on it. It just didn't do the watch justice, so I sourced a period correct bezel that had some patina on it. It's on a Perlon style strap, which was probably the style that the sailors used when these were originally issued. MN 1975. For the most part, 1975 seems to be the only year where they wrote out the whole year and had this kind of style engraving with MN above 1975. I have seen examples that say MN 75, but 1975 seems to be the only one where they had the full year written out. This one was issued to the dive school also, and we know that from watchmaker engravings on the inside. So referencing the book, you can see there's watchmaker inscriptions, and then again we have copies of the register page that indicate that it was used by the diving school. Moving on, this is my first MN watch, Marine Nationale Tudor Submariner, issued in 1977. It's got a blue dial, blue bezel, possibly a service replacement bezel, I'm not sure, but definitely an original Tudor part. The four's got a nice shape to it that is recognizable. You'll note that this watch, on the dial just under the B, there's a little scratch. When I was looking at a lot of pictures of these watches on the internet, I actually came across, even though this is an MN77, I came across a picture of an MN75 with that same scratch there. Turned out that this dial was originally on an MN75, and a previous collector decided to take the dial from that MN75 and put it on this MN77, which had a great case. It happens. I'm just glad to know that it's still an original MN piece. This example, the case still has nice chamfers on it, and you can see even the original tooling marks on the unpolished case. This one is on an Erica's MN strap. It's more of a modern interpretation of the MN straps. MN77. You can see somebody used an incorrect tool to try and open this case at one point. Again, at first that bothered me, but now I love it. It's just part of the history of the watch. It's a real tool watch. This one was issued to the dive school, and we have register copies for that as well. You can see here on the inside of the case back, this one was serviced by Mr. Pastre many times, and we've got an entry in the register as well. Next up, really love this watch. This is a Tudor Submariner issued to a submarine. This watch was issued to a submarine called La Praia. So you can see here, it's a pretty dinged up, definitely used case. The back here, MN74. Now you note that the engraving style on this MN74 is different than that on this one. There's not really like a great explanation for this, and like many things MN, I'm definitely still learning, and there's a lot to learn. I certainly don't know it all. But these shorter style engravings seems to be all from a batch that went to the southern bases out of the Toulon area, and the style with these larger engravings seem to come out of bases in the north, like Brest or Lorient. This one has decommissioned paper for it, and that's how I know it was issued to the French Navy. That's how I know it was issued to the submarine in particular. So the decommissioned paper for this one looks like this, the front and the back. And in here you can see that it's got the serial number and then the name of the submarine that it was issued to. It's always nice if you can get the original